Got a question from a landlord asking if they could have a tenant or have a lease term in their lease agreement saying that a tenant's going to maintain a minimum credit score. Hi, my name is Rob Wells. I'm the Landlord Warrior on TikTok and YouTube. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our videos. Now, to answer this question, my thoughts personally are a credit score is not going to pay the bills. Okay. Probably a lease term that I would probably prefer having in a lease is, for example, if the tenant is going to be, paying utilities, that type of deal, that the tenant must keep the assigned or agreed upon utilities that they're going to pay for current, so the landlord doesn't get charged. And if the tenant doesn't do that, that is a breach of the lease agreement, okay, or rental agreement, and then that violation could be solved with a 3-day notice to perform. That would probably be like a better preferable term on things that the tenant has to keep and maintain, okay. Another good tip for like rent is having a defined rental due date and when late fees are going to accrue and so forth. That should be spelled out as well too, because if a tenant stops paying rent pursuant to the rental agreement, a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit can be issued. Now, I'll address the issue about, okay, having a lease term about, okay, you must maintain a 670 credit score. Besides the issues I just mentioned before here, one thing that this landlord you're going to have a problem with is with the initial rental application authorizes the landlord usually to run someone's credit at the time of the application, but to have a term in a lease agreement that there's a continual authorization to run a credit score is probably going to run afoul like consumer credit laws, that type of deal. I don't think it's going to help you for one thing, and I'm not, my background is not in like doing credit checks or anything, so I think you're going to probably run across some consumer laws here, okay? Because here's the deal: if you don't have the tenant's authorization, how are you going to keep track of the credit score? And even if we got past that argument here, under the law to enforce a lease term in the rental context or in the eviction context, it has to be a material breach. Basically, it can't be a trivial and immaterial term. I just don't know how keeping a 670 credit score has anything to do with paying your rent on time or paying your utilities on time. The better lease terms, I think, would be to have proper rental due dates and strong language about tenant has to maintain the utilities that they're responsible for and make sure that the landlord doesn't get billed those charges. Those are probably better terms in my view than a credit score requirement, if you could even enforce that credit score requirement in the first place. So that's my 50 cents. Take it for what it's worth. Landlords, if you're dealing with a problematic tenant situation or you want to talk about things about how you can avoid problematic tenant situations and you're in the Northern California area, feel free to reach out. We might be able to help out. Put your comments, questions down below. Try to answer them to the best of my ability. Until next time, folks, I'll talk to you then. See ya.